So let it be written, so let it be done. You're watching Tabletop Terrors. Welcome. My name is Tim, and this is Offhand Attack. This is a stream that I try to do most weekdays from my car. And today's Offhand Attack is going to be, it's going to be cool. It's going to be a stream of consciousness. I'm going to tell you about some things that moved me this weekend. I'm going to tell you about the best character introduction I've ever seen in any medium. And then I'm going to do a video response to a video response. And so it's going to be fun. We're going to have a conversation, and we're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything without a Tabtarian toast. So grab your drinks and drink with me. May you mend the first break. May you kill the first snake. And may you conquer everything you undertake. Sláinte. This is a live stream, which means that we interact with you who are viewing. And we already have plenty of viewers, so let's interact. Oh, we got some great people here today. Drake Warren is here. Alan Holloway. Those two guys alone. One on the RPG Construct, the other one on Check for Traps. Both running incredible Dragon Grin campaigns that I'm a fan of personally. Jacob Norman says, let me inside your mind. I will, Jake. I will let you do that. I'll let you in here. Open your mind to me, Jake. Name the movie. Open your mind. Jason Smith, howdy, Tim. Dylan Allen is here. Hey, Timmy, says Allen. Matt Click says, opens Batwing doors. Piano player stops playing. Card sharks look up. Ain't been here in some time. Nathan Thurston. Whoo! I think he meant woo. So I'm going to jump right in with some movies that I had an opportunity to watch this weekend. And the first one is, I'm warning you that it is heart-wrenching. I expected it to be something that made me feel, like going into it, I thought, all right, it is Manchester by the Sea. Manchester by the Sea, Oscar-nominated film, and I was like, all right, check it out. I'm going to check this out. I'm a fan of Casey Affleck. I think he's a fantastic actor. There were a couple films that he was in that I was like, man, he really made this movie. Very subtle. So there are no spoilers in this. I'm not going to spoil this film for you, but just know that going in as far as character intros, we've had a lot of discussion back and forth in various groups, and I know a lot of smart people that I respect have made strong cases that you need to reveal something about the character at the beginning of the game. This movie, to me, is Exhibit A as to why you don't need to do that by describing what they're wearing or who they are. Essentially, the film begins and you see a character whose life is in shambles. And then the rest of the film goes through a process through these sort of subliminal flashbacks. Like, you don't realize you're in a flashback for half a second, and it's not jarring. It's not Batman versus Superman where you're like, what? It is beautifully done. And there's a flashback about the first quarter of the movie, maybe the first third. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you hit this flashback. And it's one of the most heart-wrenching things. It's one of the most well-acted things I've seen. And the situation and the way that it unfolds and the way you see it. You've seen this character act like a jerk for, at this point, about half of the movie, maybe a third of the movie. And then you get to this scene and you see this flashback and you're like, dude, you have earned it. You are allowed to be a jerk at this point. You can do this. So I would say this. I don't recommend this film to anybody who is, a film sticks with you or makes you feel like depressed, because it can be considered a depressing movie. But for me, going through this, I thought, this is a masterclass in character reveals. They tell you nothing except in the beginning of the film, the character is who he is. It shows him in his job. It shows him in his day-to-day. And it is a masterclass in revealing pieces that make sense when they need to make sense, in context. Beautiful. Awesome movie. It's heart-crushing in some areas, and it's one of those hyper-realistic Oscar-nominated films. So that's my first thing. Best character intro I've ever seen in my life is this whole film showing you this picture of a character. Jacob Norman, Total Recall, that's right. Open your mouth. Hold on. Let me do a Quado. I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to open up my shirt. No, I'm just kidding. I don't got a Quado. James is my Quado, but he didn't get melty to me. Oh, James, you're my Quado. Steve Fillmore says, hey, y'all. And Josh Glisson is here. Jonathan Lutzer made it. Josh Glisson, which movie? Manchester by the Sea. So anyway, check that out. It's a movie I would highly recommend as a storyteller, as a dungeon master. If you're a game master, you need to watch this film and see how it's written, see how it's acted, see how the pieces play out. You are in, and you're just sucked right in. So this is also another tip. So this is something that you can do. Watch Oscar-nominated films. Watch them because they are often very artistic in the way that they tell stories. So it's not necessarily that you should run sessions based on this exactly, but it will keep your mind fresh. It will keep your mind sharp, looking at creative and inventive ways. And if you're moved by something, it's often the best inspiration that then moves you at the table. So even if it's a couple of degrees of separation, watching Oscar-nominated films, if you can, is something that can just jog your inspiration. And seeing other great artists at work doing what they do best, being these other characters, I think it's a fantastic exercise. So the Oscar nominations list has been out for a little while. Check it out and just watch some of these films. It's not going to the same teat we normally go to. We're not just looking up a sci-fi movie or a fantasy movie. One of the things that most Oscar-nominated films do very well is characterization, storytelling, and just even using different narrative devices, different tones and feels and costuming. Look at these things because these are usually the culmination of a director and a producer with hundreds of people working under them to make a final product. And it's a hack. As you go and you watch an Oscar-nominated film and you get, I think, a very concentrated burst of a particular kind of genre. And so that would be my thought to you. Alexander Kostick, hi Tim. Mike Lasham is here. Chris Wilhelm is here. Chris, I just saw a photo of your new setup. It's looking good. A toast to you. Looking forward to you getting fully set up, man. So this is a video response. The next thing I want to do is a video response to a video response. And I'm going to be very candid and upfront. I'm not going to be negative. But I'm not going to tell you who the video response is to. Someone left a video comment, and I approved it on one of our recent videos. And you can go check it out. It's pretty easy to find. But to me, that's a middle ground. Because I want to encourage this person, and I want them to keep making videos. And I love the response video. But I gave a bunch of advice about how to make encounters. How to drum up ideas from nothing is really the core point that I was trying to make is... How do you sit and stare at a blank sheet of paper or a blank terminal, a blank screen, terminal, who calls it a terminal? A blank screen and come up with an encounter. And this person's response was, don't make encounters, build a world and the encounters come for free. I don't disagree with this logic at all. So I want to encourage that. And you can go check out the video. Like I said, I'm not plugging the channel just yet. It's pretty new to me. I don't know this person. You can check it out as one of our recent videos about building encounters. And you can check out their video response. The thing is, when I watched the video response, it was super good lighting. The dude is... I don't want to talk about you like you're not going to watch this video. It's a good video. Here's my issue with the response. Is that if my suggestion was like, hey, here's how you can make chicken tonight. The video response was... but you should have a chicken farm instead. And it's like, yes, that would be ideal. That would be fantastic. But that doesn't help me tonight when I need chicken. So eventually, yes, you should build your chicken farm. But for me, the other thing about the video was awesome stuff. And there's stuff about like goblins who want sheep dung and stuff. It's cool. It's a cool world. The problem, though, is that the video goes through and it's like 5 or 6 minutes of all these ideas that you already came up with. So it's like, when you're using that as an example of like, well, hey, you should build a world that has things like this. My video was trying to give people ideas from nothing to just kind of spout off and get somewhere. Whereas the examples you used in your video it seemed like well formed over a long time. And so, yes, world building and real verisimilitude and having factions and people and NPCs who care and who are acting, this is ideal. And this is great. But I think that is a different type of thing than what I was going for, which was, hey, do you need a thing tonight because you have a game in 4 hours? And you haven't quite nailed it down yet. You have these pieces floating around in your head. Here's how to put them on paper. That was my thing. So anyway, check out this video. It's on a recent encounter video. It's like the top comment. I approved it. Go check it out. Show some love. Be respectful. And if you are watching this, gentleman, hopefully that makes sense to you. And I hope to see more video responses from you in the future. And I like your style. I think it's awesome. Super cool beard. And you have a very old school D&D flavor, and I'm digging it. So let's check the chat. Steve Fillmore says, it's a very cool concept to use character reveal to motivate or complement the story being told. It is evidence that giving some great background hooks to the DM can pay tons of dividends. Totally agree with this. And when you see this film, when you see Manchester by the Sea, you'll know the scene I'm talking about, and you'll see like, okay, that was it. I won't spoil the Provokers, but I will say this. There is a thing that formed Durgan, my character that I play, my dwarf paladin from the Provokers Season 1. There is an event that happened that got him on the path to adventuring. I do not mention that event until a flashback in the final episode. Not fully, anyway. And to me, it's such a bigger payoff. But you know what? This is the truth. If that event was never revealed, I don't think the game would have been any worse. I think revealing it made the game better because it was more rich, it had depth, but it wouldn't have made the game worse. And to me, that's another tick mark in the proof column that character backgrounds only matter when they're pivotal to the now, when they're important to this part of the story. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Dylan Allen, dang, I wish I can stay, but the phone is dying. Still at work. Cheers. All right, man. We'll see you later. This will be on YouTube as well. Sam DeMercurio is here. Lee Patterson, Juice, rocking a new logo. Cooking it big time. Tyler Hurst is here. So I also want to recommend another film. I took some time to watch some movies this last weekend, especially the Oscar ones, following my own advice. I watched Hacksaw Ridge, if you haven't seen that yet. That is, if you appreciate war films, you will most likely appreciate Hacksaw Ridge. It's different in its approach, and to me, as far as how you can tie this into your game, is the way that they lay this film out. Don't expect, and again, this is spoiler free, don't expect it to start out as a war movie. This is a bit of a character story, so this shows his character's progression, but it's a very well thought out, well written, well acted film, another one. And to me, one of the things that struck me the hardest, as most, well done war films do, is the brutality of the battle scenes. The other thing it made me think of that I thought, I really haven't looked at it this way, is in our world of Dragongrin, that's our campaign world, we have this event, this battle, this series of battles that happened, essentially like a World War I or a World War II, where the good guys lose. And when you're watching this movie, Hacksaw Ridge, and you see the brutality of the war, and especially in this difficult position that they were in, trying to take this specific ridge, it was very, very difficult to take. There are a lot of casualties. And watching this film, you are not sure what the outcome is going to be. And I won't tell you what it is. But I thought to myself, when that happens, when Lightfall happens in our campaign world of Dragongrin, it's important that you love the good guys. It's important that it looks like they were going to win. It's important that they have a personality. And this is something we're going to make sure that happens to a degree when we're writing our campaign setting. Is it can't be so generic and high level that we look at this as chess pieces moving across a board. I think it's very important for a campaign to have weight, for you to zoom in every once in a while. And I'm not talking about being sadistic, but I'm talking about being realistic in certain ways. Zooming in, instead of just hand-waving, certain tragedies that happen. And this is actually a breakout box that James and I wrote for an Absolute Tabletop supplement, the supplement of Brooke. Because in that supplement, it's basically the Gavalt Raiders have burnt down Brooke. And it's a whole breakout box on advice on how you can describe those tragedies and not gloss over it. And I don't want to get too dark here, but in the breakout box, the whole thing that inspired it was someone was telling me a story, and I had heard the story a couple or a few times, essentially, and they used the phrase, and then he got beat to death. And because I had heard the story a few times, I sort of was like, desensitized. I just took the phrase, they got beat to death, and I just made it this sort of ambiguous thing. It's like, oh, that's terrible, it's awful. But then I really started to think about it later, and I was like, that's atrocious. Like, that's a terrible thing. And I think occasionally, now I'm not trying to bring you down here on a Monday, but occasionally in tabletop RPGs, when we glorify everything and, all the goblin body parts are flying everywhere and the orcs are getting run through, when one of the characters gets hit, maybe we don't gloss over it so much and go, and you take an arrow to the shoulder. It's like, make that hurt. Make it important. Make it matter. Have an NPC get shot. And again, I'm not looking for sadism. I'm not looking for glorifying violence or lingering on a depressing thing. But every once in a while, if you use that like a really spicy pepper, if you are particular, and I don't mean describing something to the point of gore, but even just zooming in a little bit and showing the effects that surround it, it can make that hit a little harder. So if the players are going through this skirmish and everything, when there's a really important hit or someone gets hit especially hard, you can kind of make that, I think, an event in the game just by what you focus on and how you describe it. Ken Napper is here. Steve says, it almost seems that character background being revealed is a form of currency. You have to earn it by investing in the character and story. The late or sprinkled reveal of the background can also be pleasing to the viewers and other players. As people come to like the character in the here and now, they're rewarded with info about the character's past. That's brilliant. A great example of this in the last decade anyway, is the series Firefly. One of my favorite episodes of Firefly, spoiler free, is Out of Gas. And the only reason why that episode works is because we had like 4 or 5 episodes before that establishing who the characters were in the here and now. And so what you end up having is, you could not have started with Out of Gas, that episode. It would not have had the emotional weight because of exactly what Steve is saying. And Steve, that is a very smart way to put it, is that the here and now is the currency that you gain. And as you have these character moments, you can spend them on revealing parts of who you were. That's great. That's really good. So, Chris Wilhelm says, my next Dragongrin game is just after Lightfall. The players are ready for a losing battle. See, and that's deep, man. That's going to be, I think, a weighty game. I cannot wait to watch that. William Hart is here. Jonathan Lutzer. Oh, Tim, I've been reading a book by Brandon Sanderson called The Way of Kings, the Stormlight Archives, which really reminds me of Dragongrin. It's a long one, 1,000+ pages, but pick it up and read the first section of it, up to page 165, to get a sense of it. I'd recommend reading all of it. All right, man, I'll check that out, for sure. Stephen Back says, I started my campaign by building up the friendly innkeeper, making the characters like him, and then had the main antagonist kill him. It makes the bad guys stick out and sets the tone. Exactly. I was watching an episode of Justified that did this. There's a sort of a side character, and I noticed, I was like, man, this season they're giving that character a little more attention than usual. and then they had him die. And I was like, oh wow, they did that perfectly, because it never felt heavy-handed. It was like just the right amount of detail, but it made us really care when that character died. Jonathan Lutzer, I loved Out of Gas. Carol Dunster is here, and Jonathan says that episode also had one of the best openings I've ever seen, as with most Firefly episodes. Perfectly written, really good template for a session, but again, it would only work if you, up to this point, had a lot of really good, dense stuff in the background. Carol says, hey, I'm looking forward to playing in Chris Wilhelm's Dragongrin game, Live or Die. I'm excited to see you play in it. Playing in the Dragongrin setting, especially if you're not a part of the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group, you have to go over there and join. Just search for it, and we'll approve your membership. The people in that group just love telling a great story, and I love that, because watching other players in your setting is one of the most cool things that can happen. And dungeon masters like Chris Wilhelm, Marquise Hardis, Drake Warren, Alan Holloway, all the people that have run Dragongrin stuff, James Carney, my brother, it's really cool to see their take on it and to see what tonal things that they focus on, and the players always just latch right on and make it better than ever. And if you're interested, if you don't know what the heck we're talking about, you can go to AbsoluteTabletop.com and just click on Dragongrin, and you can see the books that are available for our campaign setting. Marquise Hardis says, hey, I'm Marquise Hardis. Yeah, man, I'm talking about you, baby boy. Talking about you, stereotypical Strider. Any questions? Anything you guys want to talk about? That's pretty much all I had on my list. I was just going to mention quickly that getting a ton of love on Twitter. Really, really loving that. A lot of cool people on Twitter. More D&D podcasts than you can imagine. A lot of cool personalities. So if you happen to be one of our Twitter followers who have found us on Facebook or on YouTube, thank you. A lot of love on the Tabletop Terrors blog lately, too. Getting a ton of visits. We're getting a lot more visits than we used to, so I don't know what kicked that into gear, but thank you. TabletopTerrors.com, check it out. We got a few cool articles on there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What do you guys want to talk about? I have a little bit more time. Alan says he has a Dragongrin game this Wednesday. It's Monster Hunters. So monster hunting is something that James and I did a video on. It's something that the community is loving. And Alan has already run one monster hunting game, so has James. So it's kind of a theme in Dragongrin since there are so many monsters. So check out Alan's game this coming Wednesday on Check for Traps. That's his YouTube channel. Dill Shoulders is here. Marquis says, I found my Zen state recently and am preparing to start my heavy Port Noir writing. Perfect. Strike while the iron is hot, my friend. Strike, because if you don't capture that inspiration, it feels like it'll be there forever, but all those peripheral thoughts that make up the campaign setting in your head will start to dissolve, and before you know it, you won't have them anymore. So I totally think you should do that. William Alexander Riley says, Daredevil did something interesting in Season 2. I'm going to read ahead so that there are no spoilers. Perfect. They set up a kind of minor antagonist, and once they were in a point of desperation, they explain why they did what they did, and as soon as you sympathize with them, something bad happens. I agree, and I know exactly who you're talking about, and that is a really good way to do it, is that reveal makes sense, and you can justify all their actions up till and before then. Enoch Newkirk, what a cool name you have. Newcomer here to Tabletop Terrors and Absolute Tabletop. Well, welcome. You're a Tabtarian now. You're family. You can't get rid of us. Slancha. John Getz. The Amber. Books by Roger Zelazny start with the main character waking up in the hospital with amnesia. So, that was one of the first books to popularize that. I don't mind it, and I'm all for it. But there was a thread recently in the Absolute Tabletop group where someone was like, hey, that's what I'm going to do. And at least 4 or 5 people were like, hey, that's a little cliche. So just be careful that your players don't lose the cool factor because they've seen it done so many times. I don't mind it. I think it's fine. But I guess that to some that's considered a cliche. So Just throwing that out there, because it was a surprise to me that so many people called cliche on it. I was like, It's one of those things like goblins. They're cliche, quote unquote, but nobody ever uses them because they're cliche, so in turn, they've actually become less used. Anyway, but I think when done right and done well, that would actually be a really cool idea. I've always wanted to do a horror one-shot where the players don't have any weapons or special abilities. They're basically level zeros. They wake up with amnesia, and there is essentially a level 1 or 2 rogue that is a serial killer. And it's just, you're kind of in this area and you have to try to get away because one sneak attack from a rogue and you're dead. So it's kind of like a little serial killer one-shot. I thought that would be kind of fun. Steve Filmer says, welcome, Enoch. Welcome, says Jonathan. Chris Williams says, one of my favorite parts of Dragon Grin is it feels like it's a very personal world, no matter who runs it. It's not like you're just a wheel in the world sweeping adventure machine. You are the machine, everything is there, and tomorrow is just at the end of your reach. Chris, would you copy and paste that and email that to me? If you're okay with it, I would like to put that as a quote about our campaign world somewhere. I don't know, that seems like it would be useful somewhere. That's really great, man, and I appreciate that. That means a lot. Ken Napper, I describe Dragon Grin to friends as the most metal setting I've ever seen. Well, thank you. Stephen Back, I'm making lunch, prepping for the gym, getting back on track. You're looking good, Tim. The beans are working for you. I felt compelled to buy some myself. Good, man. Thank you. I am at the lowest weight I've been in, gosh, a long time. Nearing a decade, I think. And the weight loss keeps coming. I keep on just sticking with it. And it's slowed down a little bit because I have less body fat. But the trick is to just be persistent, as with anything, and just continue to, even if you don't see the change, your body is changing. And I ran into a couple of people who haven't seen me since mid last year, and they were like, whoa, dude, you lost a ton of weight. I'm like, oh yeah. So thank you, man. And you too. I mean, look at your profile picture. You look like you're about to rip my lower jaw off. Jason Smith, welcome to the group, man. See, we're a family here. You're a part. Brad Proctor's here. William Hurt says, I love goblins. Stephen Back says, I love cliche. I'm running my campaign, filling it with cliches, then twisting them slightly. I think that's a great thing to do with cliches. There's also a whole nother stream we can do on the difference between a cliche and a trope. And this is going to sound ridiculous. I did a blog article once on a blog we used to write for. And it was the difference between cliche, homage, and pastiche, and trope. Try to say all those together. Homage, cliche, pastiche, and trope. And they're all slightly different for different reasons. And it's tricky, but yes, I think all of those used as ingredients in a certain mixture can work very well. Let's see, William Hart, I'm trying to create a story with a serial killer as a villain as a horror story. There you go. And if you want to get a kickstart on that, go to that encounter video I was talking about. It's like 3 or 4 videos ago. It's a live stream from the truck. It's called like Encounters, Get Ideas Now or something. That's also where you can see the video response I was talking about. Which I hope I wasn't overly negative. I hope that came across well. But check it out, because you might be able to use the mission statement method in that video to kind of jumpstart your ideas. William Alexander Riley, have you ever ran or played in a game set in a video game? I know James has had mentioned several times wanting to play in a Fallout game. Not personally. James has played in a Fallout game before. He wants to run a Fallout game. The reason why... Here's the thing. I wouldn't mind a one-shot. I would be very slow to play in a video game campaign setting for the fact that most of the time the lore is super established and most people know it much better than they do films or books, because when you play through a game you learn a lot more and you're steeped in it in a different way. So as long as it was flexible to kind of move around and create my own stuff that was different from the game world. The thing that I would be most afraid of is going to play in the game and having to learn all of these facts and not be as free to create things that were my own. You know, so as long as there was a good balance between what was established and what we could kind of tweak, I would be okay with that. Carol Dunn says, yeah, you look great. Oh, thanks, Carol. Thank you very much. Andre Torres is here. Ken Napper. Our superhero game in masks is full of cliches and cheesiness. It's so fun. That's the other thing, too, is that the thing about a cliche is it's going to sound silly. It's a cliche for a reason. You know, it wasn't always a cliche. So it's a cliche because it works, and it's worked over and over again. And what's a cliche to many might not be a cliche to some, especially if they're just learning. So, yeah, I don't avoid them at all costs. I just use them very sparingly and on purpose. Jonathan Lutzer. You could also do that serial killer one-shot with a reversed version of Scotland Yard. Instead of one character being hunted, the lone character does the hunting. Then you narrate moving through the area in which the game takes place. That's really cool. That's actually a really good idea. William Hart says, I'm working on the weight thing too. Self-conscious DMing on Twitch. Listen, man, for a lot of videos, I hated the way that I looked. And that was just one of the things. But man, when you're watching video back and you're just like, God, I hate how fat I look. And you know, just real talk, when you're walking by a mirror, sometimes you look, oh, I don't look so bad, and then you see yourself from a different angle and you're like, oh no, science. I remember there's actually there's a video we did on our channel called Whiteboard Battle Mat. I have an outtake from that video. James is filming me, and we're in the hardware store, you know, we're doing this video. And he's filming me, and I go, hey, make sure you don't get my belly in the shot. I go, I'm not ready for the world to know I'm fat. Because all of our videos were like from the chest up at that point. Like you couldn't tell with my exploding sausage face. Chris Wilhelm said he emailed that to Bert and Ernie at tabletopterrors.com. We have a catch-all, so you can email it to anything at tabletopterrors.com and we'll get it. That's perfect. Oh no, Enoch. All right, there's a long one. I'm going to read it. Here we go. We're going to wrap up soon, but thank you all for sticking around. This has been a really good one. So Enoch says, in my homebrew campaign, my big bad evil guy is a lich and has a vampire daughter. He's a former king of Bavaria, but went down a dark road to save his daughter after she was attacked by a vampire. Long story short, there are corrupt, racist nobles who plan to assassinate the current king to unleash the Lich from the Shadowland, and then order the Lich to general their army and do their bidding, as they think they can easily, and then Facebook cut you off. What's up, Andre? William Alexander Riley says, LOL, that's the issue I have with playing in a Star Wars campaign, at least when it's set in the Old Republic. I feel like I'm not going to do anything that will impact the future of the story, so what's the point other than messing around? It's a tough one. Jacob Norman says, today is the first day of the Hero's Journey RPG Fitness Challenge. Check out facebook.com/FJ2FJ for details. I'm about to head to the gym and do day one. So that is Fat Jake to Fit Jake is what he's talking about. And it is the Hero's Challenge. Today is the first day. I'm going to be doing mine when I get home. I'll probably do a quick offhand attack, like just encouraging people to do it, kind of walking you through it. I am going to be participating in this Hero's Challenge. I'll probably likely do a stream on it tomorrow. My goal and my thoughts were I wanted to do a day of it first, get the lay of the land, and be able to give you an accurate report of what I went through and how it went before I tried to tell you to do it. So I'm going to do that tonight, first day of the Hero's Challenge. Still keeping to the bean diet, which I've done a video on before, but let's see here. Andre Torres' question. Any upcoming games on the channel? How about Provokers? Provokers is this month on Sunday the 26th. So if you're looking for the Provokers, that is this month. The next Dragon Grin campaign game, which is going to be a very pivotal session. It's going to be a very pivotal point in the campaign, I think. Is going to be March 11th, which is a Saturday. So stay tuned for that. I'm still trying to think of a way to get everybody caught up, like maybe like I don't know, because I know that it's hard. It's hard to jump on when you've missed like 2 or 3 sessions. It's like they're 4 hours a piece. So if anybody has any ideas on the best way, or like wants to help do like a recap super edit, like I know Carl Bolthouse has done those before, where it's like recap super cut of things that happen, like I'd be down with that as far as help goes. So let's see here. Jacob Norman says, we're going to be a huge adventuring party. I'm really looking forward to it. Chris Wilhelm says, Heroes Challenge has a support channel in the AppTab Discord. So, this will be the final thing we say, and then we'll call it a stream. Oh, Enoch sent the rest of his message here. Hold on. So the Lich is going to easily win the war against Everus, homeland of the elves, with an army of undead and drow at their side. But the Lich has his own plans. Of course he does. His quest is to combine the countries into a new empire, where race no longer matters as much as personal power. A place where the strong rule, a society that melds the races, a kingdom using the militaristic and charismatic might he has forged. That's really cool, man. Welcome to the group. You already have some awesome ideas. Make sure to join the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group. So, here's what we're going to do. Oh, Marquise has a really good idea. He says you should keep a blog section where each post is a recap of the campaign. People dig that stuff. So here's the thing. Do I have to write the recap? Because I would be open to people submitting recaps. If you know, we get all the time, people are like, how can I help? Are you looking for help? What can I help with? Recaps. That's something that is really tough for me to do. Like, I'll rewatch the last session to prep for the next session, but I have no recaps. If anybody's interested in recapping or helping recapping sessions 1, 2, and 3 of the Dragon Green game, I'll take as much as I can get on that angle. That would be super duper helpful. Like, I know that's a lot. That's a ton. But names, places, all that stuff, that would be amazing. And I would help approve it. And you know what? I'll even say this. Anybody who's interested in doing that, if you write a full recap, a detailed recap, and it checks out and it looks good, I will hook you up with a Dragon Grin t-shirt, and that I will pay for out of my own pocket, a Dragon Grin t-shirt, and I will hook you up with a free Dragon Grin PDF of your choice. So if anyone wants to do a recap, you know what? Those are 4 hours. If anyone wants to do a recap, I will hook you up with one free Dragon Grin shirt of your choice, and all of the Dragon Grin PDFs that exist currently. So if you're interested in doing that, I'm happy to do that. Again, if I say, yes, this recap is the one, I'm going to go with this. You can't just be like, yeah, and there was this guy, and then a dude got stabbed, and then someone did pee-pee. Like, it can't be that. If it's like, yes, this is awesome, thank you for your help. So submit, and then I'll judge and go, yeah, and I'll be fair. And multiples are okay. It's okay if 5 people write me a recap. But if you guys want to recap it up, I'm looking to have that done by the time, so people can catch up. And so, in fact, I would probably even do a video series where I recap it. If you write it, I can go through the bullet points and kind of explain what happened and get people caught up. Let's see. Marquis said he'll write it. Woo! I would totally put that on the blog, straight up. Andre Torres is looking forward to it. Jonathan Lutzer says, I like that idea, Marquise. Maybe flavor it as a list of crimes on a wanted poster. Ooh, that's good. Chris Wilhelms, I would look at how Firefly and a few other sci-fi shows do their recaps, highlighting what is important in the upcoming episode. Totally agreed. And that's how I think beginning, like, game recap should be. But I'm looking for, you know, at the beginning of Game of Thrones, when HBO's like, I get it, guys, it's 2016 and a lot of you watch 5 shows at once. Here's what happened. I'm looking for the here's what happened of each session, so that someone could watch it as a Cliff's Notes, so they don't have to watch the 4 hours of the session if they chose to. So, totally. Marquis says, I guess it's my idea, so I should write something up and send it in. William Hart says, can I find more information on the Heroes Challenge on Tabletop Terrors? We could put up a post. Yeah, I'll get with Jake, and we can definitely do that on the Tabletop Terrors blog. Right now, if you go to facebook.com, FJ, numeral 2, FJ, Fat Jake to Fit Jake, you'll see a bunch of information, but we could totally do a blog post, for sure. Jonathan Lutzer says, I was under the impression that this would be a general recap for people to reference at any point, not just for each session. Exactly that. Because I know the players know the story. We talk about it offline a lot, but this is more of a, hey, I'll catch you up. Like, I think that the people who have fallen behind are people who are brand new to the channel and aren't looking to watch 4 hours times 3 would really benefit from this stuff. Carol says, if I recapped what I remember, it'd be short. Senility, you know? Well, that's why I'm suggesting you watch the videos. That's why we record them. Chris Willem, I offer players bonus XP to write recaps after each episode. I need to do that. I need to do that. I have a lot. My players are very busy, so I don't know that they'd actually have time. I think none of us lack the desire. I think it's a matter of just like, it's either write a recap or work on the next Absolute Tabletop book. So, anyway, guys, I love you all. You guys are Tabtarian. You're amazing. I'm going to do the Heroes Challenge tonight. I'll report on more of that probably tomorrow in the stream. And I'll get with Jake on doing a blog post on tabletopterrors.com so that people can hop in and be a part. So, until next time, may your dice roll high.